Good morning. This is the matter of SM, AM, and RM. We have mother, Danielle Thompson. We have her attorney, Ms. Newhouse. We have father, Mr. Marsh. We have children's attorney, Ms. Golden. We have various agency workers, and then we have Ms. Cardenas is here on behalf of father. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Ms. Tanton, let's start with the children. The children all remain in the same place, correct?
Yes, they are all placed together with paternal grandma.
And how are they doing there?
They are doing very well in placement. There are no concerns with the children with their placement. They love being there. And we've met with them multiple times, and they have stated that they like being with their grandma.
And their needs are being met there?
Yes.
Okay. And I know there was an investigation back in December regarding paternal grandmother, but that's all been looked into and there's no concerns with that home, correct?
Correct. We do have a safety plan in place regarding the home. We do at least one unannounced home visit each month, and then the grandma is also in therapy.
Okay. And so let's start with SM. How is she doing? As far as school. How's she doing in school?
Yeah, so during this reporting period, she did switch schools. She used to go to, I believe, Central Montcalm, but now she's going to Greenville. She's in 7th grade. That school transfer was due to transportation issues. So now she can ride the bus, and we don't have to worry about getting her to and from school every day. So she's doing well there. She did actually, though, recently get suspended. Last week on the 23rd, she's suspended for 2 weeks due to the school finding a joint on her. She did do a drug screen that day, though, and it was negative. She reported that it was a friend's and it's not hers. So she'll go back to school after spring break.
Okay. And how are her grades?
She's doing well with her grades in school. Academically, she's doing well, and she's adjusting well to the new school and making friends.
And how is she doing in counseling?
Well, she's meeting bi-weekly with her therapist. I was able to talk to the therapist last week. She stated that she is engaging, but she doesn't talk about mom or dad during her sessions. She doesn't really like to talk about her parents when she's meeting with the therapist, but that is something that they're working on.
The therapist is encouraging that?
Yes.
Okay, what about, is she up to date on well child checkups?
Yeah, she had her well child on 10/24 of 2025, and her last dental was on 11/13 of 2025, and no concerns were reported with either provider.
And she's not on any medications, correct?
Correct.
And what about immunizations? Is she up to date?
Yes.
Okay, anything about SM before we go on to AM?
No, that's it.
Okay, what about AM? Let's start with school.
She also switched from Central Montcalm over to Greenville schools, so she goes to Cedar Crest Elementary now. She's in 4th grade. She's doing really well. She's made lots of friends there, and she's doing well academically. There aren't any concerns with her schooling.
Okay, and what about, is she up to date on well child checkups?
Yes, she had her last well child on 10/8 of 2025. She was reported to have asthma, but they didn't prescribe her any medication at this time, and it's just going to be continued to be monitored.
What about,
then
go ahead, dental?
Yeah, her dental was on 11/13/2025 as well, and there were no concerns.
What about immunizations?
Yes, she is up to date.
And what about counseling? She's in counseling as well?
Yes, she also is in biweekly counseling with the same therapist that SM is working with. We do need to get a new release of information for her, as the last one was only for the previous worker. So the grandma is getting that release signed this week. But we did have notes from the previous worker that the therapist is working with her on anger, and she's made substantial progress. There was even talk about discharging her from therapy, but that hasn't happened yet, just because of the fact that she is a temporary court ward and we're working through this process, so she hasn't been discharged from therapy yet.
Okay, what about RM? RM and start with school. He has an IEP, correct?
Yeah, he had a new IEP implemented on February 12th of 2026, and the agency is still working on getting that report from the school. It may have been given to the previous worker, but I could not find it in any of her paperwork. So we're going to follow up with the school to make sure that we have a copy of that report. He's in 3rd grade, but he is doing very well in school with that IEP assistance.
And what about, is he in therapy as well?
Yeah, he is in therapy. He didn't qualify for Montcalm Care Network's therapy, so we were able to find him a private therapist through Martino Counseling. I believe his is weekly, but it may be biweekly. I'm not sure on that. But the therapist reported that RM doesn't really talk about his visits much during his sessions either. But he did report recently there was an incident during a visit on 3/19. He reported to his therapist that mom did hit him. So that was looked into and investigated.
Okay, and I noted in the report, it sounds like after visits, he's had some acting out, correct?
Yeah, so he's had a lot of difficulty following visits. He's made a lot of progress with his therapist on that. There has been some issues with him running out to grandma in the car and things like that. So this week we're switching mom's visits back to the agency to kind of separate that so that the caregiver will remain outside and visits will be happening inside the agency instead of at our CASA house where there's a lot of outside activities that can happen where he can run over to grandma and visit with her instead of interacting with mom.
And so let's go back to the visit where he told his therapist that mom hit him. You said it was investigated. What was the end result of that?
Yeah, so because it was reported to the therapist, it was called in and it was transferred to active staff to review, which is why we also decided to move sessions back to the agency because it's more of a structured environment where we can supervise more and make sure that things like that aren't happening. From what I was told from the person that supervised the visit, mom had asked RM for a fist bump and RM declined, said he didn't want to, and then mom punched him in the side. I don't know how hard it was. I don't know if it was jokingly or not, but that is what was reported. So that is another reason why we are moving visits back to the agency to have more strict supervision as well.
Okay. Anything else about any of the children before we go on to the parents?
No, not at this time.
Okay, let's talk about the father, first of all, and his treatment plan and what he's been working on and what progress. First of all, there's an Arbor Circle parenting report. He completed that
I'm sorry,
program?
can we go back? I'm sorry, can we go back to RN just a second? I have a note that he needed a root canal.
I do not have any information on that, but I can follow up with the caregiver and make sure the worker follows up with that.
All right, thank you. Sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Golden.
No, thank you, Your Honor. So how is is it Marsh?
Marsh, yeah.
Yes. How is Mr. Marsh doing? Let's start with, I think you were looking for information on employment. Did you ever receive that?
We don't have like documented proof, but we do have a phone number that we've been contacting him on because his cell phone is broken, which is his work number. So we have been able to call him while he's at work and talk to him through his employer. So there is confirmation that he is working.
And what about, have you done a budget with him to see if he has enough income?
A full intake has not been completed with him yet due to lack of communication. His phone's been broken. It's been really hard to get a hold of him. He often works late or has car trouble. So a lot of meetings have been canceled. And so we haven't been able to get a full intake done with him to verify that his income is sufficient.
Okay. What about, so what do you know about him as far as housing? Do you know where he's living?
Yes, he is living up in Sheridan. His home has been reported to be appropriate. The new worker is planning to meet with him today to verify all of that. and hopefully complete a full intake. But there haven't been any reports of his housing being a concern.
Okay, and he's living with someone, correct?
Yes, his girlfriend.
Okay, and has there been a background check or anything done on her?
Yes, clearances have been done on her, and she is approved to be able to visit with the kids.
Okay, and so someone has been out to his home in the past.
I can't recall. I can't testify to that for sure. When I looked through the notes, I didn't see anything of him having an actual home visit.
But you said someone's doing that today. Who is the new worker? Is that Miss Foster?
Yes.
Okay. And what about substance use? Has that been a
Yeah.
concern for him?
So substance use, he did complete one drug screen with us in December, and it was positive. I'm trying to remember the substances it was positive for. Off the top of my head, let me check my notes.
Are you talking about a screen on 1218?
Yeah, it was positive for THC, methamphetamine, and amphetamines. The reason why we haven't been able to get more screens is again due to lack of communication and us being able to meet with him. And then our random screening facility, the closest one is Grand Rapids. So he wouldn't be able to get down here to screen. So we're trying to come up with a different plan to have more regular screens with him.
Have you referred him to a substance abuse assessment?
So the two that we have talked with him about are Arbor Circle Men's Substance Abuse Program, and then the other one would be Montcalm Care Network. Both of those he just needs to call and call their intake number and schedule an intake with them, and then he would need to sign a release of information for us so that we can confirm that he has done that.
Okay, and what about, is there any mental health issues?
There are not any reported mental health issues. However, we do have a case service in to get funding for him to be able to complete a psychological evaluation. We're just waiting for DHS to approve that.
Okay, and then you'll follow whatever recommendations or make referrals based on that, correct?
Yes.
What about parenting time? Has he had parenting time?
He has had some parenting time during this reporting period. He has missed quite a few. Most of them were due to transportation and car trouble. So we did move visits up towards Greenville to try to alleviate that. And he has been able to attend more visits now that they're up in Greenville. And with him completing the parent nurturing class, we are looking to refer him to foster care supportive visitation moving forward.
And how are the visits going?
Very well. There are no concerns reported with the visits. The children report that they really like visiting with dad.
Okay. Anything else about dad before we go into the mother?
No, I think that's everything for dad.
Okay. And Miss Thompson, what about her housing? Have you been out to her housing?
Yes, her housing is appropriate. I have been there personally, and then the new worker went there, I believe, on Friday last week. There are no concerns with the housing. It's a 2-bedroom house, and she's working on getting bedrooms set up in the basement to have more room for the children if they were to or when they return home.
And she lives with someone as well, correct?
Yes, her
And
boyfriend.
have you done background checks on him?
Yes.
Any
And
concerns?
he's appropriate. No.
Okay. And so substance abuse is one of the biggest issues, correct?
Yeah, that was one of the main barriers when the kids entered care was substance abuse. She was working with the FET program and had therapy and a recovery coach. However, she was discharged from that program in January due to lack of engagement. And now she is currently working with a recovery coach and a support group through the Bicycle Health app. And she did provide us the login information for that. However, there's not really much progress reports with that app. So we are recommending that she still work with Arbor Circle, the Enhanced Women's Program, which will provide her with a therapist, recovery coach, and support groups as well.
And she was attending some type of support group online, correct?
Yeah, that's through the Bicycle Health app that she provided us login information for.
Were you able to verify like a sign-in sheet or anything like that?
It had like the classes listed on the app when we opened it and looked through it. But I couldn't find anywhere when I was looking at it, but I didn't look at it with her. I was just looking at it with the previous worker. So I wasn't able to really confirm that she had attended or didn't attend. Mom also reported that there was drug screens on the app, but I couldn't find those either. So that's something that we'll work with her, with the new worker, to see if we can get access to those through the app.
But she has taken several drug screens, correct? Was that through your agency?
Yes, the ones that are turned in are through our agency that she's done.
And those are all
I'm
positive
sorry, Ms.
for
Golden. Ms.
what?
Thompson, can you sit down somewhere? You're making me dizzy because you're walking around. Okay, thanks.
May I continue on?
Go ahead, Ms. Golden. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So she's taking, is it Suboxone? Suboxone, correct?
Yes.
And who is she getting the Suboxone through?
I am not sure exactly who she's getting it through. I don't know off the top of my head, and I can't remember from the notes that I have written down. I just know that she is taking those, which she would need to be drug screening for those as well, to be able to get that subscription or prescription.
So have
And
you
we
asked her? Let me just stop you real quick. I'm sorry. Have you asked her for a release of information for the people that are prescribing that so you can get the drug screens and if there's any therapy that's going on there as well?
I do not know if the previous worker asked for that, but we will make sure that the new worker does ask for a release of information for that.
Okay, and I know on some of the screens she's testing positive for THC. It doesn't seem like a high level, but is that a concern?
It is only a concern with the fact that she has often brought her vape to visits, and has sometimes left it on the table at the agency, like during visits where the children have access to it, and the children have stated it makes them uncomfortable. So that is another thing we are addressing with Mom with her visits.
Okay. So it's not a concern so long as she's not using before the visits or during the
Or
visits,
during the
correct?
visits, correct.
Yeah, okay. And anything, other referrals for substance use?
For substance use, no, I do want to state though that Miss Marsh did report to us that she was attending AA meetings, and so we did request an attendance sheet from her, and she provided us a falsified attendance sheet as documentation of her attendance.
Okay, and did you confront her on that?
Yes, we did ask her about it. We were able to find the exact attendance sheet online that she had sent to us, and she reported that she was just very overwhelmed at the time when we had asked her for it.
So is she supposed to be attending a support group as well as the the enhanced and the drug screens and going to whoever she's getting for Suboxone? Is she supposed to be doing support groups as well?
She's not required to. I mean, I would highly encourage her to do those things with the app that she's using. As she said, it's been helpful. We would just want her to be working with Arbor Circle so that we can get those progress reports and be able to provide that to the court.
Okay, and she's on probation, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Have you talked to the probation officer?
I have not personally, and I don't know if the previous worker has, but I will make sure that the new worker follows up with Mom on that and gets contact information and a release.
I'm sorry,
No,
I'm going to interrupt again. Ms. Thompson, I need you on the screen. I need you sitting down where we can see you. I think I'm looking at the ceiling right now. Thank you. I'd hate to put these on in person, but I need to know that you're engaged and paying attention. All right. Thank you. Ms. Golden.
Thank you. Ms. Tannen, though, as far as let's see, where were we? Oh, as far as the probation, you're gonna have Ms. Foster follow up with the probation officer, correct?
Yes,
To see if she's drug screening or what she's doing for them so that we don't duplicate services.
correct.
Okay. And what about employment? Is she currently employed?
She is currently unemployed and receiving unemployment benefits, but hasn't provided proof of that unemployment benefits to us.
Have you asked her for that information?
I know the previous worker did ask, but I don't know if on Friday when the new worker went out to meet with her, if she was able to get that.
Okay. And have you done a budget with her?
I believe we do have a budget on file for her. We don't have any concerns as of right now due to her living together partner. He is able to support her at this time, and then she is working on getting her GED to help further her employment.
And then as far as communication, I know you noted that as a problem area.
Yeah, so she did previously complete an anger management class as recommended by us, just due to the hostile way that she talks with agency staff members. And there have been some concerns with statements she's made about the children. During one parenting time, she stated that she didn't want to visit with those bitch ass kids anyway. And then the last on 3/26, there was a visit scheduled for mom, but the kids were saying that they didn't want to go. And I was scheduled to have a phone call with them later to confirm with them why they were not wanting to go. And so mom was informed of that, just so that she wasn't blindsided at 4 o'clock when we got a call from the kids after they got home from school. And she stated that she was upset that they were accusing her of something she didn't do, and that those kids were going to get her put in jail at the rate they're going.
So are you making any other referrals based on those statements in her?
I feel like a lot of those can be addressed with therapy through Arbor Circle, as well as we're referring her as well for foster care supportive visitation since she's completed the parent nurturing class, which is a more hands-on parenting class, which will, I believe, help her with those statements that she's been making.
And when is that going to happen? When will she start?
The referral is being made today, since we to be able to get those visits started. They did send out a thing yesterday that they do have openings, so she should be able to start fairly quickly with foster care supportive visitation.
Okay, and let's talk about parenting time. Has she been consistent in attending parenting time?
Yes, she has. She has attended the majority of her visits. She's only missed about 6 this reporting period, which she did make up one virtually. Some of those visits were due to the kids being sick or the kids refusing. Mom canceled one due to having to go to a funeral, and one due to having to go to class for school. And then the last one on 3/26, mom refused, stating that she wouldn't go if maternal grandma was transporting the kids.
Okay, so how are the visits going? You've talked about some concerns. Any other concerns?
There are not major concerns with visits. There's just some things that mom needs to work on with her engagement with the children. And then the kids are also working with their therapists to work on that relationship with mom.
And it sounds like from some of the notes that AM and RM have been engaged with her, but SM not so much.
Correct. SM typically stays off to the side, either on her phone or talking with the visitation person, which hopefully with us moving the visits back to the agency, there's more separation of the person that's watching the visit and the kids with mom. So hopefully that will help with that engagement with her as well.
Anything about anybody else or that we've missed, either about the children or the parents, that you'd like to advise the court?
The other thing for mom is we also had her psych eval was approved for us to get funding, or the funding was approved for a psych eval, so we just need to get that scheduled with mom.
And then you'll make the appropriate referrals based on that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What are your recommendations today?
It is respectfully recommended that SM, AM, and RM remain temporary court wards in an out-of-home placement with an approved relative or a licensed foster home, that Ms. Marsh and Mr. Marsh comply with and benefit from their parent agency treatment plans, that Ms. Marsh and Mr. Marsh's parenting times be supervised or unsupervised at the discretion of the agency, and that a review hearing be scheduled as required.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you. So, did the last worker leave abruptly? It kind of sounds like.
Yeah, her last day was on 3/18.
All right, and in the past, it's been, I think, a bit difficult for my client, Ms. Marsh, to establish relationships. So sounds like she's already working on that with the new worker.
Yes.
Okay. So that CPS referral that was made at the grandmother's house, did that involve her intoxication and domestic violence?
Yes, the police reports we received from that incident reported that the grandma was under the influence, as well as she had her adult son, not the dad on this case, but a different son, living in the home, and had not reported that to the agency either. And there was a domestic violence incident between her and her son.
Were the children present?
I believe they were there, but only SM saw it happen.
All right. So that's more trauma for the kids, right?
Yes.
And what's the safety plan?
As stated before, the safety plan is that we are doing unannounced visits in the home now, randomly throughout the month, arriving at the home to make sure that everything is as reported, and that the children are doing well. And then grandma is participating in substance abuse therapy.
Okay. Is she expected to refrain from alcohol usage?
Yes.
And when that happened, did you notify my client?
Due to it being a MIC investigation, we did not notify immediately, but we did inform after the investigation was concluded.
And that's your policy or their policy or whose policy?
Yeah, according to MIC, we don't notify caregivers or parents when a MIC investigation is happening so that their interviews are not able to be altered based on the information we give.
Okay, and when SM got her recent suspension, did you notify Ms. Marsh of that?
I don't know if she was notified. I did follow up with the worker because I met with the kids and Miss Marsh yesterday, and that's when I found out that she was suspended. But I believe that the new worker, because I'm not her supervisor, but I believe she notified mom, but I can verify.
Okay. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not trying to trick you or anything. I was just curious, is it your policy to notify parents when things like that happen with their
Yes.
kids at school? Okay. And then my client does indicate, though, that the kids switched schools because they had a significant amount of absences at their schools. Is that right?
Yeah, because of the transportation issue of getting the kids to and from school, there was a lot of difficulty with that. So that is why we switched them schools so that they could ride the bus every day and not have that transportation issue anymore where they were missing.
Okay. And is AM behind in school?
Not that I am aware of, no.
The new worker will be checking on that to see where the kids are at?
Yes.
Okay, and you'll be at the next hearing, I would imagine, letting us know what the attendance is and that is significantly better, right?
Yes, we can get those reports for the next hearing.
Okay, thank you. And then that incident where Ms. Marsh allegedly punched Riker in the side, was he upset? Did anybody talk to him after that?
I do not recall if anybody specifically talked to him following that, but I did talk with him about it yesterday. And he was just upset that mom didn't respect what he said and saying that he didn't want to fist bump her. He was just upset about it. So he said that he was just upset with mom of not listening to what he had said.
Okay, so from all you know, he wasn't injured or anything, and it could have been playful.
I mean, I wasn't there I know he wasn't injured, like majorly injured, but I wasn't there to know the intent behind Miss Marsh's actions.
Okay. In any case, she should respect if he doesn't want to fist bump them. If he doesn't want to hug, you'll talk to her. I would imagine that she has somebody that works with her that says, don't force your kids to do that, but offer it to them. right?
Correct. That would have all been done in parent nurturing, and then moving forward with foster care supportive visitation, they're the ones that supervise the visits, and then they do like a parenting lesson each week with them as well. So they'll work with the parents hands-on of how better to parent their kids.
Good. And while we're on that, in addition to completing an anger management class, she also completed her parenting classes, correct?
Yes, through parent nurturing, she did complete that.
Okay, good. And just briefly regarding Mr. Marsh, the girlfriend, is she part of his treatment plan?
She is not fully part of his treatment plan, but she would be assessed with him as a part of the household.
Okay, does she do drops too?
No, not at this time.
Should she? She's visiting, right?
I mean, we can have her do screens. We typically don't screen girlfriends or boyfriends, but it can be something if that's what the court deems as appropriate.
Okay, and then that are you making a referral? Have you made a referral back to Arbor Circle for Ms. Marsh?
I believe the worker was working on that this morning. I don't know if it was fully submitted,
Okay,
but
so
it will be submitted today.
if my client doesn't know anything about a referral, that it hasn't been made, right?
Correct. I don't know if Ms. Foster talked with her about it on Friday or not, but the plan was to refer her to that program.
Okay. And then let's talk about the visits. You've pulled them back. You're recommending pulling them back to the agency, right?
Correct. That is what I talked about with the kids yesterday. They seemed more comfortable with being able to visit at the agency and having that higher level of supervision. And then as well as it will put that barrier between the kids and grandma so that they're not running out to grandma at the end of the visits and things like that, where we can have a more proper like distinction between visits, because RM was often running out and talking to grandma at the car during visits. So that's another reason why we are moving back to the agency.
Does that affect Ms. Marsh's travel? How far she has to travel?
Yes, it will be farther, like 10
Well,
minutes.
Okay, well, you've accommodated the father. Is there something that you could maybe make that's a little closer to her?
We don't have anywhere that would allow for that more higher level of supervision. No, our agency is the only place that would allow for that, to allow that, because we could do visits in the community, like at the library or things like that, but then there's that higher chance of the grandma being more involved with the visit, just due to the fact that she's the one that's transporting them all the way here. And Miss Marsh said that she doesn't want to visit if grandma's transporting. So we're trying to accommodate that as best we can, because the agency can't drive all the way out, get the kids, drive all the way back to Grand Rapids, and then drive the kids all the way back. It doesn't make sense to have the kids like extending that amount of time.
Okay, and how many hours, how much does she get visitation time a week?
She gets 1 hour a week.
Okay, and we've got one child that's mostly on a phone the entire time?
Yes.
Do you see a need that, it sounds like that relationship is maybe not as healthy as it could be. Do you see a possibility that maybe she could get additional time with SM supervised, so they could do some one-on-one mom-daughter time, maybe assist with that bond?
It is something we can discuss with SM's therapist if that would be beneficial for her. Currently, SM has refused visits, so I don't know if she would do an individual visit with mom, but it is something we can talk with her therapist and with her about.
Good, and maybe if she knows it's only about her, like it's special time for her, obviously she gets to have input into that, a lot of input, and so that might be something that you would discuss with the therapist.
Yes.
Good. And then these negative statements that you claim that my client's made about her children, the visits, she's not made those in front of the children, correct?
The one about jail was made to a visitation specialist via text. And then the other statement saying that she didn't want to visit and swearing was made at the end of a visit. I don't know if any of the kids heard her say that though.
All right. So we're discussing this today and there's lots of parties here. Family, lots of other adults, correct?
Correct.
Would you advise the adults that are present at this hearing that these children should not be hearing that kind of stuff that's been discussed here at today's hearing?
Yes.
And if they find out through some of these parties, that's not in the best interest of the children. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Readiness.
Thank you. Mr. Marsh has lived in Montgomery County pretty much throughout this case, correct?
Correct. He did go to jail for a short time, but then went back to the same house after that.
Okay, so he lives in Sheridan, Michigan.
Yes.
He did complete the parent nurturing class.
Yes.
He, since beginning, has said he's had some transportation issues to get to the initial parenting times.
Yes. There was often reports that he couldn't attend a visit because he was having car trouble. And then one of the times he said he didn't have a vehicle anymore, so he didn't have a ride. So we moved visits to Greenville to try to assist with that.
What was done to actually assist with his lack of transportation, though?
I mean, there's no buses out in Greenville or Sheraton. That's our normal go-to is we give parents bus passes, but there's no buses out there that we would be able to assist him with busing. And the agency doesn't have any type of funds to be able to buy parents cars.
How about gas cards, if they can look for friends to take them? Was that ever given as an option?
I don't know if it was provided as an option, but that is something that we can look into if that would be, if it continues to be an issue.
Okay. So nothing was really done to address like the fact that he didn't have transportation?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Video visits ever offered?
He did have phone like video visits with the kids multiple times. I think 3 times is what I have noted in my notes, that he had 3 virtual visits made up from visits that he missed each week.
Okay. So is those video visits something he set up or the agency set up?
The agency set it up for him to be able to talk with the kids on the phone.
Okay, so based on that, I mean, he was attending the parenting time visits that he could?
Yes.
And it seems he has appropriate housing, he has appropriate employment, but that needs to be verified today.
Yeah. And a full budget and everything done with him today.
Okay. Other primary barrier was substance use. What referrals have been done in Montcalm County for him?
Yeah, so for Montcalm County, the only thing that they would have is through Montcalm Care Network, and dad would need to call the main like number and ask to schedule an intake to discuss like substance abuse services and treatment for him. So the worker today is going to verify that he has that number to call and get a release signed so that we can talk with Montcalm Care Network.
And I guess that was my question. Has that number ever been given to him?
I do not know if the previous worker gave him that number. I know they gave him the Arbor Circle number, and I was talking with her about the fact that Arbor Circle is kind of far for him and he's already having transportation issues with parenting time. So we had talked about Montcalm Care Network, but I don't know if she ever gave him that number.
Okay, well, does Arbor Circle will they even service somebody in Montcalm?
They will. It's not as beneficial because it's better to have it in the same county that the parent is living in.
Okay. So that barrier really hasn't received a referral for any services, it sounds like.
I mean, there's not a referral that we can do. I mean, just the Montcalm Care Network where dad has to call. And then when he was incarcerated, he was completing a sober living program.
Okay, but to your absolute knowledge, you don't know that he's actually been given that phone number yet.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Golden,
No follow-up, Your Honor.
Ms. Newhouse.
No, thank you.
All right. Any additional witnesses, Ms. Golden,
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Newhouse,
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Cardenas?
I have no witnesses or evidence. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Statements, Ms.
Your
Golden.
Honor, I spoke to Miss Coletti and she did see all three children. She's been out to the home. She has no concerns with the current caregiver. In spite of what happened in December, she still supports the placement.
And what about the recommendations?
She agrees with the I'm sorry, Your Honor. She agrees with the recommendations as well.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you. Well, I think the referral for the psych eval, I don't know if it's been made, needs to be made. The referral to Arbor Circle, I don't think has been made, needs to be made. Any other services they can assist my client with in assisting her getting to visits, gas cards, things like that. It sounds like her attendance has been excellent. She only had one that was not excused, one visit. So that's been excellent. I'd like to see the agency be a little more creative, with a possibility, it doesn't have to be necessarily weekly, but offering, SM a special visit, because it sounds like the bond is not good, between Ms. Marsh and the oldest child and are in this threesome here. Doesn't sound good. I think that more effort could be made there and certainly involve SM in that decision and also her therapist. A lot of concerns about the placement, substance issues, domestic violence, and then the not getting the kids to school, which I'm gonna be looking into and hopefully provide more specific details on how much school they missed, because it sounds like it was significant. So that placement to me has its own issues. And while we're not here on a petition against the grandmother, some of the similar issues with these kids are going on in that home as well. So my client is frustrated with that. She loves her children. She wants them back in her care. She's willing to do what's required of her. I'm hoping that this new worker will work hard to establish a relationship. My client's not always the easiest person. She's very forthright and she says what she thinks, and sometimes that gets her in trouble. And I'm hoping that she'll be respectful with this worker and get down to business and do what she needs to do to get these children back in her care. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cardenas.
Thank you. And we do support the recommendations. I just want to say I'm a little concerned that there's been no actual meaningful services been offered to my client since he's been out of jail. Seems to be a lack of actual any services that have to be, related to where he lives, where he can actually get there. We're going to ask him to do something. It has to be where he can actually make it happen. But I know we have a new caseworker on the case, Ms. Foster. She says she's going out there today. So it sounds like some of those can begin. It's just a little concerning that it's starting about, 3.5 months after it probably should have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. The court finds that the lawyer guardian ad litem has complied with the requirements of the statute. That returning these children to a parent today would cause a substantial risk of harm to these children's life, physical health, or mental well-being. That reasonable efforts have been made to preserve and reunify the family to make it possible for these children to safely return home. That those reasonable efforts for reunification should be continued. I'm glad to hear that the intake hopefully will happen with Mr. Marsh today. I'm not going to fault the agency at this point for that, given his incarceration as well as the issues that have occurred with communication with him. But I do expect that these services will be put in place and in a meaningful way in Montcalm County so that he can participate effectively. Same thing with Ms. Marsh or Ms. Thompson. that in accordance with the statute, progress towards alleviating or mitigating the conditions that caused the children to be placed or remain in temporary foster care has not been made by either parent. That these children's continued placement is necessary and appropriate, is meeting their needs. I'm going to rely on the CPS investigation regarding that placement as well as the safety plan, and expect that the agency will keep a very close eye on that situation. That the needs of each of these children can be met in a foster family home. These siblings are in joint placement. The court orders that the children be continued in the protective and temporary custody of this court, continue placement with the department. That the adjudicated respondents, Ms. Thompson, Mr. Marsh, comply with and benefit from the case service plan. Parents to sign any and all necessary releases. Parenting time of both parents is at the discretion of the agency to allow unsupervised or supervised by its designee. Continue the attorneys in this matter. And Ms. Gibson, do we have a date for our next hearing?
Yes, Your Honor, June 25th from 9 to 10.
Any conflicts with that date or time?
That's good for me.
I will pass on to Ms. Ortega.
All right.
Yep, and I'll let Deb know too.
Okay, sounds good. I'll just ask if the attorneys would stay on for a minute.